Welcome, everyone. It's Career Happy Hour. It's 3 o'clock Pacific time on Friday, which means it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And you're joining me here today for Career Happy Hour. I'm Andrew Beach. I'm an executive coach. I help professionals communicate value to find great opportunities faster, whether they're working or not. And yes, the college football season is started, and I'm excited for that. So maybe you let me know in the comments section, however you're joining us here today, whether that's through YouTube, Periscope, which is now, I guess, Twitter Live, Facebook, and of course here on LinkedIn, which is the primary tool that I utilize in my business and to support people in career transition. So if you would please let me know in the chat what team you're rooting for this weekend. And I'm certainly not rooting for the Boilermakers of Purdue, but that's okay. I understand. If you attended Purdue, nothing against you. I'm just not going to root for your team. Yes, go Beavs. Thank you, Terry. And also, if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the comment section. I am happy to answer or do my very best to answer, provide some perspective. We'll also probably hop into the news here today and just see where there is some interesting information that I can share with you, provide you a little bit of perspective and give you an indicator of what I'm feeling or at least sensing in the marketplace. And of course, today's live stream are my own perspectives. They are not the perspectives of anyone or any company or organization I'm affiliated with. So if you do have questions about career, things going on in the marketplace, how to find great jobs fast, interviewing, market planning, resume if you must, LinkedIn. I have a fair amount of experience with LinkedIn, so I could help you with that topic. And occasionally I've been known to actually review people's profiles live during the session. Also, if you feel so inclined, you're more than welcome to click the link in the description and join me live. This is a live stream, and you can come on the live stream yourself live, and I can give you some hands-on support. So if you're wrestling with something that's kind of difficult or you need support in some kind of way, I'm here to provide that for you. This is my way to give back to a community that's been so gracious and generous to me. And so this is just me doing what I can to support your success in some small way every Friday, 3 o'clock Pacific time. All I ask is that if you are attending here, just share the stream. Get more people to come in here because it's difficult enough for each one of us to network and find opportunities, whether that's for business or that's for job opportunities, whatever that looks like. It's hard enough to do that. And it's nice that we have this community here called Career Happy Hour that we can come to and say, hey, I'm open to connecting with people. So if that's you, first of all, share out the broadcast. And second of all, stick your LinkedIn profile in the chat. Now, why that's important is because you might be joining on some different platform than most of us are. Most of us are on LinkedIn, but I broadcast to the other platforms because I don't know where people are going to come from or where they're going to view these live streams. And so I make it accessible to as many people as possible. Of course, they can also put their chats or their questions in the comments. And so we'll do our best here as a team to support each other. Now, by the way, if you do put your link in the chat or in the comment section, then be prepared that people will reach out to you because you're indicating to those that are here today that you are open to that. And thank you, Terry, for sharing your LinkedIn profile. Just because you comment in the chat doesn't mean you want people reaching out to you. But if you are open to people reaching out to you, then put your LinkedIn profile in the chat. Now, the other part of this, the live coaching link that's in the description, is that there are some folks that I know, and I've talked to them, that don't want people knowing publicly that they're looking for something else or they're out there in the marketplace, and it's understandable. You may not want to disclose that to everybody in God's green earth. And so if that's you, you can come into the green room. We do have a private chat on the backside of the Restream program, and you can click that link in there and just put your anonymous question in the chat, and I'll read it and answer it as an anonymous question. Or you can certainly private message me if you have a question you'd like me to address in a future Career Happy Hour, then certainly I can answer it there as well. But generally speaking, we would put any questions that we have in the comments section. So that, right before I came on the stream, it was really interesting. Here in Portland, Oregon, there was a major employer, and I got a news alert that this major employer, I'm not going to disclose who it is. Many of you could probably find it out anyways. But this major employer, I've been fairly familiar with, have a lot of coaching clients that have been interested in working there and have done their very best to get inside. And it turns out that this organization has made a strategic decision to outsource their talent acquisition, which I think was a mistake. And it's proving to be true that, candidates may not have the greatest experience if you not only outsource, but offshore your talent acquisition and don't believe that, your people are an asset to be treasured, then you're going to end up with challenges and hiccups along the way. And so I thought it was rather, I don't know if you'd call it comical, but sad. And I see a lot of companies doing this now, offering, bonuses, compensation, or some kind of signing bonus, $1,000 or whatever it is, to come work at their organization. And, I thought to myself, they may not have that issue if they had kept their talent acquisition in-house and made it a strategic cornerstone of their success or their strategy. And it's rather sad to see an organization that was highly esteemed take a how would you call it? Take a turn that direction. Yes, ironic, sad, short-sighted, and tone deaf. Yeah, and so there's certainly a group of people in a higher capacity or job title than me making those strategic decisions, and it is unfortunate. So we really, I think the thing to learn there is what can we, who do we listen to? Who do we take advice from? And is that in the long-term best interest of us and our organizations? Number one. And number two, you really need to know the organizations you're going to work for, and you need to know when is an appropriate time to maybe say, it's time to go, because you don't want to be the person tapped on the shoulder and said, it's time for you to go. Now it's not of your own volition. It's at their discretion. And so this is where, the trend, and I see this continuing, I don't see it ever changing, is towards self-direction, self-directed career. You plan out your own career and no one's making you any promises. You can only plan for what's going to happen and what may happen and what is happening, right? So we maybe have these different contingencies we can prepare for, and we can set ourselves up. We can, certainly have contingency funds, financials, right? We certainly, as good as it might be for you right now, it may not be the best thing for you. I think what I'm saying there is kind of along the lines of, and I've used this quite a bit in the streams on Friday, is, you think about, and I've heard this from somebody third party anecdotally, so I don't even know if it's true. I should probably research it. But Salesforce has this mantra: it's better and better, never best. Better and better, never best. And so we can apply that actually to our professions, to our careers. Where are we now? And I know of whom you speak. And as you know, I had put them on my list of target organizations. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It is really sad. I guess I wouldn't put ironic, but I put sad first. It could be that this is a learning experience, and it's a very difficult lesson to learn when you take those kind of really deep strategic moves and have to walk them backwards. So it would be for a good thing. And yes, that can cause candidates to forever exclude your organization. And I don't think any organization really wants that. And they probably never anticipated that. It was likely someone looking at the dollars and cents, or perhaps an overzealous consultant from a big firm saying that this is what everybody's doing, and why don't you do it as well? That whole monkey see, monkey do kind of mentality when it comes to, people being encouraged to take a path that may not be productive. So good. Thank you for those contributions, Terry. I just found it rather interesting and sad that was something that they're now doing, and they're having to pay people bonuses because they can't get anybody to work there. Well, maybe the other side of it is they're not paying bonuses because they can't get anybody to work there. It's because people don't want to work there, or you make it difficult to hire people. And so maybe they want to work there, but your hiring process takes 12 weeks. It's just, and there is another company that's probably one of the larger companies in the world that I thought during this pandemic did an exceptional job of being agile and grabbing talent as quickly as possible. And they did that in a way that didn't compromise their values. And I think they were very aggressive in their approach, and they ended up landing some really good people. And I have hope for this organization because I do have a perception of them that isn't very, in some ways, positive. And so you probably can think of that. It's kind of like the Hunger Games. And I don't know if we want to all be in an organization is like the Hunger Games. It's just not, survival of the fittest is great in nature. It just isn't so good in an organization all the time. Not that competition, friendly and healthy competition isn't fun, but competition at someone else's winning at someone else's expense is not a strategy that I would certainly advocate for any organization. But that's beside the point. This is an opportunity for each one of us to decide what are the values that we represent and how do we want those mirrored or mimicked in the organizations that we'd like to work for, and documenting those and knowing that, hey, I've been in, many of us have had careers and we've seen the good and the bad. And so if we have a whole list of good and a whole list of opposite of the bad, right? Then we know a list of symptoms, right? With symptoms of an organization that seem familiar to us and good and positive and productive. We also know symptoms of organizations that are sick or unhealthy and maybe not aligned with our values because we actually took the time to define what that looks like and what you appreciated, even about the organizations you didn't really like working for. There's always something there, always at least one thing I can think of that you appreciate. Maybe that was the people you worked with. Okay. What kind of people do you enjoy working with, even at organizations that may not be optimal for you? It could be that you jot down, well, I like people that encourage me even though things are bad. Great. Write that down. Encourage people even when things are bad. And now I have a question I can ask to see if an organization has this symptoms, right? How would you describe the way that your teams treat each other, the individuals on the team? How do they treat each other? How would you describe that? Right. So now I'm actually asking a question of a company as I'm interviewing that's going to help me discern whether or not they're aligned with my values or what I'm trying to acquire in my next role. Good. Again, if there's any questions, put those in the chat. I am more than happy to answer. You can come on live. You can share this out. Certainly, you can put your LinkedIn profile in the chat as well. I know there are some people here because I can see in the stream that there's people here. And I understand, if you don't want to come on and make a contribution that way, that's fine. That's perfectly okay. But this is a point in the production where I just go through some of the top news articles that I see here on LinkedIn, and we can jump into those here. And since we don't really have any chats, I'll turn that off. And we'll look at the news, shall we? We'll look at the news. Good. It says jobs growth wilts in August. Fascinating. Far from the healthy gain forecast by economists. Of course, we know economists predicted 19 of the last 3 recessions or something like that. I heard that somewhere. The U.S. added a paltry 235,000 payrolls in August as job creation slowed in the face of rapidly advancing Delta variant COVID-19. Now, let's pause right there. These are two things that are happening in correlation. That doesn't mean causation. So yes, they are happening together, but that doesn't mean that's what is impacting the jobs number. My suspicion is it's just taking longer to hire people. There's been disruption, not just in business, but in talent acquisition. I see talent acquisition people moving to better jobs. So it's not uncommon. I just saw this in a company this last month. And yes, even though I'm working and I have my business, people do approach me and I do interview because I want to stay sharp and I want to always have my eyes and ears open to opportunity. One of the recruiters I interviewed, not even a couple of months ago, has left that organization before they onboarded the final candidate, and so that's fascinating to me. Why is it that people think that hiring is easy? It's not. It's a process and it takes time. And right now, I believe, my perception, of course, I believe it's just taking longer to hire people, even though it shouldn't. So here it says the total companies with job gains of about 1 million each in June and July, and a forecast of 733 for last month. So the 733 was the forecast, the 235 was the actual. The unemployment rate, though, edged down to 5.2%, a far cry from almost 15 at the top of the virus. At the same time, jobless claims have continued to drift lower. That's interesting. So not only, so what are these people doing? Taking a vacation? Anyway, and in fact, I think that it might be what it is some people maybe quit their jobs and are deciding to take some time off. Maybe that's not uncommon. It's been 18 months or something since many people have even been able to go on a vacation or go anywhere for real. So this is an opportunity. I think a lot of people have stored up their vacation and their monies, put money in the bank, and now they're maybe even they banked their stimulus checks, and now they're going on a vacation. And that's what they are going to do with their money. So anyway, it looks like the LinkedIn news page has a video about this topic with a LinkedIn senior editor. So many of you may not know that LinkedIn has their own news and editorial staff. Okay. LinkedIn is also owned by Microsoft. So keep that in mind, is that they will position and share a lot of information that they garner from sources through things like Bing or MSN. Good. What else do we have here? The Great Wait is costing millions. What is the Great Wait? Let's see what this hypersensitive title is saying. Let's see. More companies are delaying their office returns due to the ongoing threat of Delta variant, and it's costing them hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. How is that possible? I mean, I guess I could read this article on CNBC, but let's see what it says. That's because each delay sends companies back to their drawing boards to figure out the appropriate surveillance strategies and pandemic policies. Surveillance strategies? Is that for real? In addition to non-tangible costs, such as transitioning workers back to the office life, return plans have turned into the Great Wait for workers, with Google most recently postponing its plan. There's going to be disruption. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind there's disruption when this happened and it said, hey, go work from home. That was disruptive for sure. I think, again, we've talked about this many times on the live stream here on Career Happy Hour, that families are now in a rhythm. They know how to handle it. They've got it down. It may not be optimal for them, and they may not be getting fulfillment out of their work, but they've got it down. And they're, now they're in a position where, I've got to go back to work. There's going to be disruption. Productivity is going to wane. I mean, these things are just going to happen. We need to be ready for that. And if, you don't want to go back to an office, this is my personal opinion. For many people, that's not healthy. Being alone on your own in your home, working on, in isolation from other people. Not that you can't connect with other people. I know we can do that. We're doing that on a video stream right now, but it's not the same. It's not healthy for individuals to be in isolation. That's just my perception. It has nothing to do, and Terry could probably echo this. It has nothing to do with line of sight, right? Or the insecurity of managers thinking that you're not doing your job. I think it has more to do with your health. And so as an individual, not as a leader or a manager, I think it's better for your health to be around people. And so that's my personal opinion, not associated at all with any of the companies that I may be affiliated with. Oops, sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like here Jennifer is with, maybe she's with CNBC. Anyway, so we can look at some of these reports and see why this is, to me, it's a boon for the bottom line to have people work from home. you don't have your HVAC, hopefully you don't have your HVAC systems working at the same level. You're not, people aren't using your water. I mean, the overhead of facilities. Sorry about that. I didn't anticipate there would be an advertisement. It's one of the reasons, in fact, one of the things I like about this tool here in Chrome, it's called Reader View. And you can get rid of all this nonsense, and it puts it in a reader view. And now we can just read the story without all the nonsense flashing on the screen. So if you're interested in that, just look up the plugin called Reader View. I use this all the time. Now that is a little small, so I'll make it a little bigger for y'all so we can read it. Let's see. Oh, that says it's cookies, social media, local storage, connected device. Okay. So it looks like it's not allowing me to do this. Maybe they have a reader view. I don't know if they do or not. Let's see if it works. I'll try it again. There we go. Let's see. On Tuesday, Google became the latest luxury of bringing. Yeah, I'm just trying to find out why is it's costing millions of dollars not to go back to the office. I just don't understand that. So I don't see any dollar signs in here. So if someone can enlighten me, even just a little bit, I would appreciate that. Oops. So I don't, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't want to exit that. So I will go, I'll go back into my LinkedIn profile here, and we'll get back to the news. Of course, if you have any questions, please go ahead and put those in the chat if you would. And I'll be happy to answer. Let me get to my LinkedIn profile. Got to log back in. And I have to do the two-factor authentication. That's great. Two-factor authentication is worth it, folks. I believe that all of your sensitive social networks should be on two-factor authentication. All right. So let me get back to the news. So the Great Wait, we talked about that one. Bumble match fight. Okay, we're not going to talk that one. Millennials, Gen Z, hooked on Klarna. Okay, this is a new one. All right, let's check this out. I've never heard of Klarna. If you have, let me know in the comments here. Good. Let's see. Let's see what it says here. Zai, good to see you. Hello, Andrew. I'm on site in healthcare upstate New York, 4-day weeks. It's good for a change. Yes. Good for you. Let's see. Totally agree. Good. So let's see what it says. It says something about Klarna. Let me make sure I got this big enough so we can read it. The dangers of buy now, pay later are beginning to materialize among millennial and Gen Z shoppers. On TikTok, young people are making light of the debt they've racked up purchasing items in interest-free installments. Bloomberg reports, with some dancing on the caption crippling debt after shopping with popular buy now, pay later app Klarna. The trend is troubling experts who fear the financing option may encourage reckless borrowing. Of course it does. If you make things free or easy, then people will use it. Adding fuel to the fiery debate around buy now, pay later. Yeah, I've never heard of Klarna, but I mean, that might be there's two sides to that equation, right? If you want to get millennials and Gen Z to spend more and you're good at that kind of thing, then, maybe working at Klarna and getting people to spend more is a good thing. On the other side of that, if you're not wanting to help people spend more, but you're looking to help people stay out of debt, then you might find opportunities where you can do that. And maybe you even start a financial counseling arm within the Klarna organization to help people that struggle with this buy now, pay later kind of concept. It's not anything really, I think, that's new. Let's see, from New York to Boston in 90 minutes. Is that for real? Let's see. Trekking between New York and Boston usually means hours-long drive on I-95 or hectic trips to the airport for a flight that's a little over an hour. But this summer, the first seaplanes in 50 years flew between the city's harbors in 90 minutes. That's amazing. You would think that's already happening, really. I guess it's likely happening not by seaplane, but by a helicopter, maybe. But 90 minutes on a seaplane, that would be kind of fun. Let's see. The Wall Street Journal describes seaplanes as single-engine float planes with pontoons. I mean, this is where thinking creatively really helps. One-way tickets put you out $395. I don't think that's expensive. I mean, what is a round-trip ticket from New York to Boston? You have to drive to the airport. You got to park your car, find transportation to the airport. You got to deal with lines, TSA, all this nonsense. It's actually saving you money. Yeah. So, but this is the idea here is think creatively. I'd always thought about, starting an Uber for helicopters or something, right? Where you can, instead of sitting in traffic for 45 minutes, an hour to commute your 20 miles, you could just hop on a commuter helicopter in your suburb and be downtown in probably 15, 20 minutes. So, I mean, this is where thinking creatively outside the box is really helpful. If you can even do that for an employer and help them come up with ideas like this, if you're in, say, product development, that's a great way to go. All right, Terry, thanks. We'll see you. Have a good holiday. Happy here in these States. For those who don't know, maybe it's Labor Day weekend. It's the last kind of, I suppose, the end of summer kind of 3-day weekend. So it's a holiday on Monday. And so good. Have a great weekend. Let's see. McFlurry's under FTC probe. Is that for real? Let's see what this says. No joke. If you're a fan of McDonald's ice cream dessert, the McFlurry, maybe you've experienced the cold disappointment of the machine that makes the tasty treat being busted. Turns out this has been reported so frequently it's raised eyebrows at the FTC. Yes, the Federal Trade Commission. The feds are on the case. Per the Wall Street Journal, the FTC has reached out to franchise owners across the country to get the bottom of this icy catastrophe. I always made a joke that I like those Shamrock shakes, right? And so I don't even know that, truthfully, I don't even know that McDonald's makes shakes anymore. I think they're just ices with milk anyway. But I don't know what that means. But if you have an alternative to the machines for the McFlurry, because often, I would assume a lot of these, how would you call it? These fast food places, they create their own machinery, not just making their own recipes and their own food, but they make their own restaurant equipment. Maybe that's something you can help them with. Maybe you're the type that is good at improving quality. So what would I do? Well, I'd reach out to McDonald's and people in their manufacturing and quality control and see if they need support from someone like you that can help them accelerate a fix for these machines. Maybe you have that expertise. So it's looking at this as an opportunity, not as bad news, but as, is this something that I can use in my search for the kinds of career opportunities I'm interested in? The next killer career, the next career killer for women. Oh, that's interesting. Not that you want to encourage them anymore, but I appreciate that. They say the future of work is hybrid, but that may not be so great for women. Hybrid workspaces threaten to push working women farther off the leadership track at the office. That isn't always true. I mean, there's a lot of female-owned businesses where they give people equal opportunity in these hybrid work environments, flexible work arrangements. I don't think that's true. But, the idea here, again, is to find companies that are aligned with your values. And so do you want to work for a company that pushes women out that way? And it's only logical that if there's a group of people that are in the office and that's where the leaders are and you're not there, that there's going to be a challenge, right? You're not going to get the same traction and advancement that other people would that are there in the office. And so we talked about that, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And it says here, since women are more likely to return to in-person work last, that's interesting that they make that assumption. That's because many have taken on more family and caregiving responsibilities during the pandemic. Everybody's taken on family and caregiving responsibilities. Let's see. Treicher calls on bosses to make a concerted effort to accommodate women and help the office from becoming even more of a boys' club. Yeah, I think we need to make it inclusive of everyone. We need to make it belonging a thing. I watched a great video podcast by Josh Burson, and he talked about this idea, this concept of belonging, because you can't measure diversity. You can have diversity or you cannot have diversity, or it's a feeling, is what he said. His words, I think, not mine. And what you can do is you can create belonging and inclusion. Those are things you can do as an organization to foster an environment where everyone feels like they're part of the team. So if you want, you can certainly reach out to me and I'll get you the recording of that. Josh Burson has a great podcast. I'd suggest he's got it, I think, on YouTube, but he's also got it, I think, just on any podcast player. Josh Burson. Slim pickings for car buyers. Yeah, I just heard this from a friend of mine. Just bought a literally brand new pickup, and he drove it off the lot, and it's now worth more than what he paid for it in a week. So I find that fascinating. This whole idea that there's no chips out there. It's amazing to me, but now that I think about it, there's chips that run everything. He said there's chips that run the heated seats in the front and the back. So the truck that they have now doesn't have heated seats in the back. Why? Because they're trying to get trucks out the door, and they'll take that amenity out because they don't have a chip for it, but they can get a truck out the door. So even if you ordered it, you may not be able to get it. So that's interesting to me. And as supply goes down, price goes up. That's economics 101. So it says here, car buyers expecting blowout deals over Labor Day weekend. One of the biggest selling periods of the year for dealerships are in from disappointment, writes the Wall Street Journal. The global computer chip shortage continues to mar auto production. And as a result, some dealers are so short on new and used vehicles that buyers may have to trek farther than normal to land the wheels of their dreams. Car companies are even pulling back on discounts or jacking up prices as they struggle to meet surging demand. Pulling back on discounts. Yeah, I don't think any car company or dealership has to offer discounts right now. But I would be displeased if they were jacking up prices. That I don't think that's the way you endear yourself with a customer. Is, hey, the fact that you have a shortage in your supply chain is not my problem. So you're creating false scarcity that's now driving up prices. And I have, I guess, a integrity that says it's probably not the right thing to do as an organization. So if that's the case, then, maybe if you do jack up the price, just make sure that you're offering more for what you're giving them. Maybe you give them, a couple of years of, work to be done at the dealership's auto shop, right? The maintenance. So give them a 2-year maintenance deal. Give them something. But so here's the thing. We talked about this again, I think about 2-3 weeks ago, is that if you have the capacity to help people stand up a computer chip site, and I know there's a lot of sites that maybe have been decommissioned or used for other things, or aren't at full capacity. I bet there's a chip facility somewhere that can make these chips for the car companies, and all they need is someone to design and fabricate, test, and get those things going. I just don't think that. I don't think there's surging demand. I don't get the feel that there's surging demand. What I get the feel is there's scarcity in the supply chain and there's restricted supply. So how can you fix that? Maybe you have expertise in fixing broken supply chains. Look at these as opportunities for yourself. Whether you're working or not, you can look at this objectively and say, maybe I should talk to some of my friends that work over at, I don't know, Ford or GM or Chrysler or wherever, Daimler. You can look at some of these different organizations and see how they're solving this problem. I mean, what are they doing about it? That would be a valid question, wouldn't it? What are you guys doing about the scarcity that you have in this thing? So I think I covered most of the news here, and we're about half hour into this. Is there any questions? Certainly, I would encourage you to put your questions into the comment section and share this broadcast out for anybody who needs support that way. Service businesses adapt. What does this one say? Adapt to survive. Yeah, it's back to the restaurants, hotels, and everything. I mean, this up and down, back and forth with the virus is crippling a lot of really solid businesses that may never come back, which is a tragedy. And it's even more sad than anything else. But it's also an opportunity, right? So if all these restaurants are going out, and I talked about this when this first started, is that one of the opportunities would be, hey, what happens to all that real estate? So maybe now's the time to buy real estate, or go to people who are trying to how would you say it? In some way, reposition real estate that used to be used for A and use it for something else. Maybe you have some creative ideas about that, how to turn retail into office, or office into retail, or warehouses into e-commerce sites, or, how do we get more, how would you call it? Contract kitchens, right? So maybe people can't come to your kitchen, but you don't need a retail storefront for your kitchen or your restaurant anymore. You just need a kitchen. Maybe there's a way that you could have a kitchen and you just do deliveries. And so how do you work that as a business model? And so people are on the fringes of that, right? They're looking at doing, Grubhub or some of these other things. That's the delivery part of it. But I could see someone like, I don't know, Instacart's been really good at this. They've kind of done integrations with major people like Costco and natural grocers are two in my area. They know you go to their website, and you go to Costco's website and you want to order groceries. It doesn't go through Costco. It goes through Instacart. So I think that's a really fascinating kind of partnership, where if you put together some of these partners, you could create a pretty compelling business model, if you're up to that. But I'm here to also answer questions about career, not just talk around the news or shoot the breeze. And so if you have something around career that you would like to have answered, I'm certainly here to answer that question. Otherwise, I will bounce and have a good holiday weekend myself. I got a lot of things planned around the yard. So I have a lot of work ahead of me, physical labor. And then we also have college football starting up. So maybe I'll just call it. All right, folks. Well, thanks for coming here to today's session, Career Happy Hour. You can certainly share this out with other people. I'm going to try something different next week because Restream is allowing me to schedule these. And so when you schedule these through Restream, it actually creates a LinkedIn event. And so we'll be able to share out that event to you. And so if you're interested in that, keep your eyes open for an event on my profile page. All right, folks, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Career Happy Hour. Bye now.